Welcome to Winning Inside, the show where we follow the journey from feeling defeated to winning. Here are your hosts, Cheddy Matthews and Michelle Wickman.
Hello, amazing people. Welcome to the Winning Inside podcast, where we discuss real issues, insights, and solutions to help you thrive in your day-to-day lives.
We know life happens, and we can choose to be a spectator or a participant.
We're
Michelle,
back.
We are back.
Sorry for that super weird intro, but you know what? We're just going to go with it because it's been so long.
Oh my gosh. I have missed you, Michelle. I've missed the people. I've missed my mic. I've missed my headset. I've missed my phone that fell down the other day in my soundproof room. Missed it all. And I'm so glad to be back. How are you?
Well, I'm sure our listeners can hear from our voices that we're just not 100%. I mean, listen, I was pretty far from 100% for the last few weeks. I had fucking pneumonia, and now Cheddy's coming up with some whatever it is. But we're here. We're here and we're back, and it's a whole different year. It's 2023, and welcome. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming back to us.
We've been wayward for like a month, really 5 weeks, but it's so good to come back, and it's so good to share with you. I'm so excited about this new year. 2023 is upon us. Bring it. Let's go. Let's do bigger and better things this year. Super excited. So glad to be here. And this is the first episode of season 2 of Winning Inside. Yes. Boom. Love that. I'll get up and do the running man, but I'll probably trip over on my microphone.
Oh my gosh.
I'm just going to sit right here.
Do not make me laugh too hard, because if you make me laugh, then you will hear the remnants of my pneumonia. It's pretty brutal. I'm not gonna lie. It was a rough 3 weeks. So, we had intended on coming back much sooner, 2 weeks ago. And each week I was like, I need another week.
It's so good to hear your voice. You sounded rough. It sounded so bad. It sounded like you were faking it. Like you know how when people are like, I'm sick, and they go overboard, and you're like, yeah, right, whatever. I was like, are you okay? Like, are you really okay? Because I was like, do you need
that? Anything? Is so accurate. Yeah.
Do you need me to come pick up something for you? Do you need me to go to the pharmacy? Yeah. I was just like, can I do something for you? Like, if you need help, blink twice. Like it sounded really bad. And it's so good to hear your voice right now, because it may not be perfect, but it's great because wow, if you heard before, oh my gosh.
I'm with you, man. It like, I'm happy with this voice. I'm like, I can talk and breathe at the same time, which is new to me, because it was one of those things where I had to pause midway through a sentence to inhale and then talk again. So for everybody who's been dealing with respiratory issues, viruses this last season and going forward, I feel you. I hear you. That is rough. And, take care of yourself. Take all of the, vitamins and minerals that we need and stay healthy, because, man, 3 weeks just knocked me on my, my butt.
Yeah.
So.
That's true. And I'll add to that, all the people who didn't get sick throughout the holidays, i.e. me, please take care of yourselves, because you might be like me, who's been coughing and doing whatever else for the past 2 days. So don't be like me. Please keep staying safe and take care of your bodies.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Michelle.
No, it's one of those things where, like, mentally and emotionally, I was so fired up in December, and like, I was just like, I can't wait till 2023. I love New Year's. I love turning over that sort of new leaf. If you're a calendaring kind of person, like, it's the same feeling, right? It's like a brand new calendar, a brand new scheduler, or whatever. Like, I definitely have ADHD, because I start those every year and then I never finish them. It's like, I love the idea of it, but I just cannot see it through. But it's that feeling of that newness, and it's like a refresh and it's a new start, even though you're carrying all of the good things and the lessons and the wins and everything forward from 2022. You have this opportunity to kind of, for me at least, I look at it as an opportunity to let go of some of the things that were weighing me down in
Yeah.
2022. So keep the good, keep all the like positive things. And they're not all necessarily, lessons don't always come in positive packages, right?
Hmm.
But they're still positive lessons because now I know what I don't want to do, right? Or now
Nice.
I know what doesn't work for me.
Hmm.
So I love to take the end of the year and take that time to really reflect on the things that I want to carry forward and the things I want to let go. And then what new things do I want to create in my life in the
Yes.
next year?
Yep.
And it's not to say a resolution because I don't do New Year's resolutions.
Ding, ding.
Yeah, I just do goals and like big goals and
Yes.
little goals. And then also, I try to do at least two things that I haven't done before. So last year, I took a tango class, and I mean, it was super fun,
Nice.
actually. Yeah. And this year, I want to take a singing lesson, even if it's like, just something that like I've never done before.
Love it.
And it's not to say I'm going to take a whole series of them, but I just want to try something new to like teach my brain that like new things can be fun. I can learn new things. They might be a little bit scary,
Oh yeah.
but then you can still do it anyway, and you're going to come out on the other side. Right. And who
That's
knows, you might
great.
actually find something you love.
That is great brain food, though. I mean, it's good for neuroplasticity, building new neural
Mm-hmm.
pathways, and that rubbish adage about old dogs and news tricks. Not calling you old, not calling you a dog, but neither of those things. But
Brutal.
that old new trick rubbish is not true. It is so not true, and I don't assign anything to that because I think it's total rubbish. You can learn new things, and I think Michelle, you're doing that. Keep doing that thing, girl. And I'm not taking a singing lesson with you, but I'll definitely do a tango lesson. I'd love to do that because I don't know what I'm doing on the dance floor. So I do what I do on the dance floor. I don't know what that is, but I do what I do. And that might hurt some people's eyes. So if you can teach me the science behind this, I'm in.
Oh, I won't be
Definitely in.
teaching you. I'll still be taking a class.
But, I will tell you, a few weeks ago, I was like, man, I got a few phone calls from a few people and a few messages saying, hey, we're waiting. When's the next episode? It hasn't come out yet. What's going on? And at first I was like,
Mm-hmm.
it was a little frustrating because I was like, I want to give the people what they want. But then I realized this is actually a great time to start because this is like the second week after New Year's. This is around the time when all those air quote resolutions, as you were talking about earlier, Michelle, all those resolutions start to fade off. The gyms are starting to get more open again. You can actually get the bench now. The rack machine, the weight, there's more weights on the rack now because there are less people there because all the resolution people, they fade off. And this is part of the reason why I don't do resolutions either. If I'm going to do something, I'm just going to do it. So some of the major changes I made came in November because it was like I was thinking about it. It's like, what have I seen that I want to change? I said, let's do it right now. Because if I wait, something else is going to come up. And I said, let's just do it. As you've heard me say before, screw it and do it. So that's what we did. I just
Mm-hmm.
knocked it out. And I know, Michelle, you do the same thing. When you have a mission, you just like, let's go. And I love that because we're not constrained or restrained by a New Year's Day 3-2-1 celebration. Happy New Year. We just get it done. You know how much time that can probably save you? But also, people get caught up in the frenzy of the change and then something happens and they go back to the way it was. When you just make changes, it's not a big thing. You just make the change and you do the thing to get the results. And there's no fanfare behind it. There's no support and then no support. There's no fall off of support. It's just, you just make the changes and look for the results. So I prefer to do that than have a resolution. I think I have an assessment and a reflection and I realign my actions with my goals and the results. And if they're not lined up, I make some adjustments. If they change, I change because I have the pen and I have the eraser and I have the pencil and I can make those changes. So I re-edit if I need to and keep going. So
Yeah.
it's
We
actually good to be
talked
coming
about
down.
that, I want to say during like a goals podcast where
Yeah.
We like to take our like a quarterly
Mm-hmm.
or at least, halfway through the year and
Yeah.
just assess like, are we aligned? Are we on track?
Yeah.
Is this the direction we want to go, or do we actually even want to pivot? So or even just stop that one goal that we had, but not eliminate that goal, but really just look at, is it something that really I value? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not from stopping that goal because I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And that's part of the assessment process. Like, why is
Yes.
it that I want to change? Do I want to change the timeline or do I want to change the goal? So, like, always asking yourself that why question and not being afraid to keep asking that why question. So, we say three whys, right?
Yep.
Why this goal? Why this timeline? Why not? All
Yeah.
of those questions and really trying to dig in and uncover what it is that's stopping you when you have a goal and you're pursuing it. So, it's one of the ways that we can stay on track, but also just to gauge there's that little clear my throat to gauge, if this is what we really want, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes new and pressing goals will present themselves. And it doesn't mean that we stop the other goal. Maybe it just means that we shift the timeline for that goal
Boom.
and that there's nothing wrong with it. Like, the worst thing you can do is just crap all over yourself for like making adjustments.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
No, it's it's fine. It's funny. I don't hear your voice, but I can hear mine. And I can't hit my high notes. I like to talk in my little falsetto almost. And it's like I can't hit my high notes. So when I laugh, all I hear is air coming out. Do you remember that dog? Remember Dick Dastardly? Dick Dastardly and his dog Muttley? Oh, tell me you
No.
don't remember that cartoon from back in the day. Never mind. All right. Well, the Wacky Races, there was this dog called Muttley, and he used to laugh like,
Oh,
that's
yes.
how I'm
Yes, I
laughing right
do.
now.
Yes.
I
Yes.
can't get the sounds out of my voice, but it's okay. It's all
Oh
right.
my gosh.
But
Yeah.
you
Bear
make a
with
really
us,
good point.
guys. Bear with us.
This is what happens when we miss each other and we haven't spoken in a while and we haven't had a podcast in a while. This is what happens. We get so excited to see each other. So bear with us and our silliness, but it's so good to be here. It really is.
Yeah. No, I think it's, there's on the one hand, there's the momentum and motivation when everybody's sort of like pushing for the new goals, the resolutions,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth. But I do think that I've seen a shift away from the concept of resolution
Good.
and really in terms of more people talking about goals versus resolutions, right? Yeah. And I think that's a positive shift that we're seeing. But it's really like, yes, the momentum, that vibe, that energy, the newness always wears off. So it's important that we stay grounded and connected to the why behind our goals, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But also, and I know we've talked about this before, but it's who we need to be in order to have that goal realized in our life. Yeah. So that was a big thing for me coming towards the end of December. And yeah, you and I coach people on this all the time, but we have to coach ourselves.
Exactly.
Right. And so there was a big sort of self check that happened in December. And one of the reasons why I was feeling super motivated and fired up prior to getting ill. But I had to really assess like, hey, is this something that I really want? And I'm talking about, what I'm doing every day. Is this something that is meaningful enough to me, right? That I want it so much that I won't quit on it, that I won't give up on it, because those opportunities present themselves all the time. Right? Ding. So like we get opportunities to work in other places for other organizations all the time. And it's like, oh, sometimes that feels tempting because it's like having somebody else cut your paycheck versus going out and, really not, I don't hustle, but it's constant, it's ongoing, right? Yeah. And when you're a solopreneur, an entrepreneur, everything from sales to marketing to actually doing the work, it's all
All
on you.
you. All you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and Chetty and I are talking about this in the context of our business, but really with your family,
Hmm.
if you really wanted to change your health, your lifestyle, people look at weight as a number, but the reason why we look at weight is because it's measurable. But
Hmm.
at the end of the day, you have to connect with the feeling of a healthy lifestyle because
Yeah.
that's what's going to make the difference on your journey. Because the weight, as we know, goes up, it goes down, it goes down, it goes down, it goes up. And you're just like, what the heck?
Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
that number isn't necessarily going to keep you going towards your goal, but the feeling and of being healthy every day, right? Coming from Cheddy and Cheddy had to go on mute because he was coughing, and I just can't get words out sometimes because of my voice.
I love this.
So, but that feeling of being healthy every day is like, it's the same thing, whether it's Cheddy or me and our goals with our business, whether
Yeah.
it's your goals with your family. We find the measurable components to it so that we can track, are we on our way to this goal? But really, we know that there's something at the end that we're really aspiring for that is so much more than like, our total revenue or the number on the scale. There's something that
Exactly.
we want, and it's usually a feeling,
Yeah.
right?
I like when you said feeling because I'm one of those people who like my goals to be big, hairy, audacious, scary, massive. You know me, Michelle. You like my goals are big. You're like, whoa. But what I'm learning this year, one of the things as I was reflecting at the end of last year between November and December, is I realized it's time for me to start being more, applying more gratitude. And as I was doing more gratitude exercises, I started to realize all of the wins that I overlook and just assume are business as usual. When I started doing that, it was like, whoa, well, Ched, you need to start celebrating all of those smaller wins that enable you to get to the big win. And I was like, wow, it was just a mind shift, like a minor adjustment in the way I see things and the way I think. And it enabled me to then see some of the progress that I'm making because it isn't the end state, but it's a step in the right direction and celebrate those steps in that positive direction. Celebrate the adjustments I've made. Celebrate how I've learned to navigate some of the pitfalls and the meandering road, whatever you want to call it. All of those things and enabled me to kind of celebrate this journey in a way that I wasn't celebrating it before. So instead of saying I didn't meet the goal, it's like I am on a journey towards that goal, towards that purpose. And I tell you, it just things seem a little better now because in the way that my mind works, sometimes I see it as I'm like a Ricky Bobby. You have a first or you lost, which is really not a healthy way of thinking. So it's either you get it done or you don't, you fail. No, there's so many things in between getting it done, between the conception of the thought and the realization of that goal. There's so many things that happen in that journey. The goal can change. I was telling my son this last week, this week. And I was like, you can have a goal. And if you're working towards it, you may realize you don't want that goal because now you have more awareness and you may deviate and adjust and change that goal based on the new information that you have. And I was explaining how I've done that through my life, how I wanted to do one thing. And I realized this is not what I want to do for my life. But if I didn't start on that journey, I would never know that. He's like, oh, okay, gotcha. He's so wise. I think he gets it. He's smarter than I am. So I'm sure he got it. But I was talking to him as I was talking to myself, is what was happening because I was realizing sometimes, Chad, you've got to reassess and reevaluate and refocus and make sure that you're doing what is aligned with you. And that's all we're saying. It's a great time to do that. It is the beginning of the year. The gyms are getting a little lighter, which means people's resolutions are fading out. So what do we do now that's going to propel us through to the end of the year and the next year and the next decade or ever how long? How are we going to get your goals and your desires accomplished and realized?
I love that. I love the idea of celebrating all of the little wins. And immediately connected to that, even in the last like 2 weeks, from literally laying down all day to one day I actually rearranged my room again because it's another thing with me. I am constantly rearranging my room, redecorating all of that stuff, constant. So, but it was a win for me because I went from like not being able to move to after some really aggressive medication, I was able to do some things. And I was like, I actually sat down. I was like, yeah, all right. And normally I'd just be like, yep, I did the thing that I wanted to do. And now I'm done, moving on to the next thing. Right. But I really just sat down and enjoyed the space. And yeah, I love that idea of celebrating however seemingly insignificant, taking the time to recognize and acknowledge the wins. I don't know if you hear that noise in the background. I live by
I heard it.
Marine Corps Air Station. So I know you're pumped by that.
You know what it is. That's the sound of freedom, Michelle. That's the sound of freedom.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Love it.
I actually love it. But so yeah, taking the time to really recognize those small wins, it does something within your own demeanor, right? Yeah. And that's the thing. It may seem silly, it may seem insignificant, but you're actually training your brain to recognize the wins.
Yes.
And focus on the wins. And that kind of focus and attention on the wins actually creates the opportunity and space for you to recognize the win opportunities in the future.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So you start to focus on those, and they more and more will present themselves, and it creates momentum in that space as well. I wanted to also touch on the idea that oftentimes a goal is associated with a feeling, right? Mm-hmm. So we will say like, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds. And the reason why I want to lose 20 pounds, and this is the part that most people don't say out loud, right, is I think I'm going to feel better.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to have more confidence. And we aspire to this end goal because we're hoping that it's going to change the discomfort or some sort of negative emotion or thought that I'm having about myself now. Mm-hmm. Right. But the reality is it doesn't, because we're still going to have negative emotions and thoughts because we're freaking human.
Exactly.
So when we get to that end goal, and we have hit some goals in the last year, right? It doesn't all of a sudden mean that there's no more negative thoughts about yourself or, you know, like everything's easy and roses and butterflies. And what happens sometimes is when you get there and you realize you still have these negative feelings, is you rebound. Mm-hmm. So that's when you see people, including myself, like, I'm not gonna lie, this happened last year, beginning of last year, where I did a challenge, like kicked butt, did awesome. And then the holidays hit. And I was like, you know, enjoying the holidays a lot.
Yeah.
And all the hard work that I had put in. And really, you know, there was a lot of like meal plans and all of that stuff that happened.
It was hardcore, Michelle.
That.
It was straight up.
It was a
hardcore.
Lot. But
phenomenal.
It is called hardcore fitness. I'm just going to say
that. There is that. Shout out to Hardcore Fitness and the whole fitness crew. Big ups.
Yeah. But I totally rebounded, right? Yeah. And it wasn't just because I was enjoying the holidays. It's like, listen, at the end of that, those all the negative things were still there because I actually didn't, along that journey, train my mind and train my mindset, right? To recognize that I'm always going to have positive and negative thoughts and feelings because we're human. Exactly. And life is going to be somewhere in the 50-50 range. Mm-hmm. So remember that along this journey, the closer you get, even when you hit that goal, you're still going to have those negative thoughts and feelings, even though we think that that goal is going to somehow create this like positive sensation in our life. It's just a moment in time.
Yeah.
When you hit that scale number, when you hit that revenue number, it's just a moment in time. Right. And life keeps going.
Exactly.
So when you talk about enjoying the journey and recognizing those wins, like I love that so much. And that's what I hope for everybody when they set goals, is to bring awareness to those little wins in the their day-to-day lives, and bring awareness to the journey and like how much you've changed and grown like along this journey, along this path towards these goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. That is beautiful. I'm sitting here listening, and it's funny. Michelle's on mute because she's choking, by the way. I'm just going to call that out. That's pretty awesome. But I'm sitting
That's
here
me.
listening, and I forget that I'm on the podcast too, because, when Michelle speaks, I just listen. And what she's saying is really true. And hopefully you can apply this in your own lives. And one of the ways I can tell you that you can apply this is just assigning some grace to yourself. Be kind to yourself. A lot of times, and when I say we, I'm really talking about me. I have a tendency to be very graceful and patient and forgiving of others. But when it's me, intolerant, yelling at myself, how dare you, not forgiving myself, extending zero grace to myself. And that's not fair. And if I'm willing to extend grace to others, I need to have the same energy extending grace to myself. Now that I do that, if I make a mistake, it's okay. We're still on the journey. And me forgiving myself and then me focusing on my wins enables me to accept when I don't do certain things, be like, okay, we can do this again. We can try again. And instead of beating myself up and making me feel like I'm an abject failure, it's just like, well, we're just working this thing out. We're going to keep going. We had a setback. We're going to keep going. It really is a different mindset, because one of them, it's like there's a failure and I stop and quit and want to give up. The other one, if there's a failure of some sort, we reassess, regroup, and we keep marching on. It's just a different way of seeing the same situation. But you realize when you make these mistakes, you evolve, you grow, you learn, and you press on and use those negative situations or those negative feelings, convert it into a lesson so you can go forward. That's the takeaway I got from you, Michelle, and I appreciate that. I'm going to keep using these little wins to get bigger wins, and I'm going to remember these little wins when I don't have a win. I'm going to remember them. And I'm also going to remember my disappointments and make sure I do some things so they don't happen again. And I think doing that is going to help me get to where I'm trying to go, because I'm on a destination. I'm on a mission to get somewhere. And when I get there, I want to be able to celebrate and be like, Michelle, remember we talked about this 2 years ago? Here we are. We need to have that celebration. And I want to celebrate along the way, because a lot of times it isn't in the destination. It is actually in the journey. The beauty is in the journey. And a lot of times it is missed. So don't miss the journey. There's a lot of stuff out on the street. I notice a lot of times when people are driving, you'll see young people in the car on their devices. And I'm like, how about looking out the window and seeing what's out there? You might see something exciting. If you've never been on this road before, look out the window, look at the cows, look at the farms, look at the trees, look at the city, look at that building, look at that crazy person over there. Whatever it is, look and see some things and enjoy the journey, vice negating the whole journey, wait until you get to the destination. There's so much beauty along the way. Let's capture all of that. It's going to make us better when we get there.
I love that. I literally just had that conversation with somebody yesterday about how kids are always on devices in cars, and how we're all the same age.
Yeah.
And how we all tell our kids, like, look up, look out, see the world.
Yeah.
There's a whole world out there. It's not in your phone.
Yeah.
So, and the one thought I'm going to borrow from you that you just mentioned is, I'm just working this out. A lot of times I'll say, I'm still figuring things out. Right. But I love that. I'm still working this thing out. It's not going to be perfect.
I'm going to add to that. It's funny. This is my online confession. I look up to you, Michelle. I admire you a lot. Right. And in many ways, I could look at you and say you're a guru, but you never act or come off like a guru. And as wise as you are, as profound as you are, as deep as your thoughts are, as focused as you are, I'll just call you amazing. As amazing as you are, sis, you have this ability to be like, I'm just doing this thing. And I love not only the humility of it, but it grounds me and makes me realize I can attain this too. There's something about that is very inviting, and I appreciate that. And I just want to expose that and put that out there and highlight that, because really, in some circles, people would probably call you a guru, but you would never use those words on yourself. And it just makes me say, man, I told you she's awesome. And there's proof right there.
Yeah.
Boom.
No, I would definitely not use that word.
I know.
But it's just so I appreciate you.
It's
my
so
personal cheerleader.
Not changing. That's not changing.
No, it's not. It's not. And it hasn't since day one. So
always been a fan, will always be a fan, Michelle. You know this.
Oh. Well, that goes both ways. So
I do. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast, please subscribe, follow, and share. And most importantly, use whatever adds value to your amazing life.
And remember, even if life puts barriers in our way, like getting sick for 3 weeks, we are still moving forward. Sign in again for a new episode of Winning Inside.
Thank you for listening to Winning Inside with Cheddy Matthews and Michelle Wickman. If you enjoyed today's show, please make sure to click the follow button, rate and review at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, or wherever you get your podcast. You can connect with Cheddy and Michelle at winninginside.io. Keep listening. Another episode is coming soon.